Hi, it's Senator Malcolm Roberts, and this week I'm in Canberra. We've just finished a session in the Senate. We actually had a Friday session as well because the government is trying to get more legislation through and to give people debate. So it's actually doing the right thing. So I'll talk more about that in a minute, because what I want to do, and that explains why I'm going to be rushing. I'm rushing now because I've got to catch a plane. So the first thing I want to do is to really wish Mark Latham and his team in New South Wales all the best tomorrow for the election. I know they've had pre-poll all this week, and apparently they're doing well, very well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But Mark Latham has done a phenomenal job in the upper house in New South Wales for the last 4 years. He needs another go now, and he's got a very, very strong team around him. We're getting lots of very positive vibes. And he's done a huge job, not only in the campaign, but especially in his job in the upper house in New South Wales, protecting people. And get this, the Liberals are saying that, we've seen it on their placards coming up to pre-poll booths. Liberals are saying, if you're voting One Nation, vote Liberals too, because it's optional preferential voting in New South Wales. And so the Liberals are desperate, and they're actually recommending that One Nation voters put Liberals too. Labor Party, on the other hand, is actually saying that in Hornsby, where Matt Keane, the Green Liberal, is, he's not really a Liberal, but he's registered as a Liberal, vote for Matt Keane ahead of One Nation. So we know where the Labor Party stands. But you know what? Let's just do in New South Wales what Mark Latham is strongly advocating. Just put a 1 next to One Nation. That's all you need. It's optional preferential voting there. If you want to put other parties, go ahead, but that's what Mark Latham is suggesting. Vote 1, One Nation, any other parties, 2, 3, 4. But put One Nation 1 and leave it at that. Go by Mark Latham. So I tried to arrange to hand out how to vote cards tomorrow in New South Wales, but I've got some commitments in Ipswich, and I've got commitments in Burpengary Saturday and Sunday, so that won't be possible. And I've also got some media appearances. But I want to acknowledge the Queenslanders who are actually in New South Wales right now, volunteering to hand out how to vote cards in the New South Wales election, because we've now got One Nation representatives in Parliament in South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, and federal. 5 out of the 7 parliaments we've got representatives. So we want to make sure the New South Wales continues on the move upwards, and we continue this growth around the whole country in favour of One Nation. I'm in a bit of a rush. I'm trying to catch hold of the time here because I got that plane. Now, we did so many things this week that I'll try and give you the highlights. The Australian banks, we know, are well capitalised, so I want to make that very clear up front. But shakiness overseas, in overseas banks, has led to constituents asking my office and myself questions. And we know that the Australian government's Deposits Guarantee Scheme is not funded, is not fully funded. In fact, it's not funded at all. They reckon they can scrabble the money together if they need to. Now, twice in question time, I gave the opportunity for the Finance Minister to assure every cent of every Australian's every account is safe. Both times she failed. I asked them how they would get the money. The money will be there. What we're going to do is continue to work very hard on reversing the bail-in provisions that came in 2017-18 I think it was. The other thing I've spoken about just today is that Stephen Jones, the Labor government finance minister, has removed the penalty positions out of the bank executive regime. And so what it means is that if you steal a few $1,000s, you go to jail. But if you're a bank executive and you steal $4.7 billion, which is the amount that the big banks had to repay for their financial theft that came out of the Banking Royal Commission, you won't go to jail at all. They've not jailed one person. $4.7 billion stolen, and not one person's been jailed. So we'll keep highlighting this, and we'll keep working to provide solutions. I want to mention that that the Greens had a motion to suspend the Senate routine early in the week. I think it might have even been Monday, first day, to debate the Iraq war involvement. And I actually support the need to investigate that. I'm tired of our young men and women getting sent overseas, just following madly in the footsteps of Americans waging war wherever they want to in recent decades. But we oppose the Green suspension of the Senate's routine because we think that there are better ways to do that and to get that investigation. So, that leads to a question. Who is the real government in this country? In the House of Reps, the majority party has the title of government. And in the House of Representatives, less than 1/3 of the people of Australia voted for Labor, but it's formed the government. So we're governed by less than 1/3, by a party that's been supported by less than 1/3 of the people of Australia. In the Senate, it's a real disaster. Because of the way the Liberals, dopey Liberals, recommended their voters' preference, we missed out on One Nation and 2 extra senators. If we'd had that, we would have had balance of power in the Senate, and we could have stopped various bills that are very, very damaging. I went through the list of those bills in the Senate during the week. It's very, very long, and the way the Senate is being run is Labor, combined with the Greens, combined with the Teal Pocock, David Pocock, who's a Teal, are combining to guillotine debate and to pass through really seriously detrimental legislation. And the Liberals are sitting there, nothing they can do, because they would rather, in Western Australia, instead of recommending preferencing the One Nation, they actually got another Labor senator into power in Western Australia. I mean, this is insane. And now we've got no real opposition from the Liberal Party at all. So I also want to mention that I moved a motion to extend the hours for debating legislation today on the Friday. The Friday was an extra day. We are supportive of that because we want to get through legislation with a proper debate. But what happened was that the Labor Party said that they'll only allow 4 hours of debate on today and 3 hours of the usual nonsense in the Senate. And I moved a motion saying that we want to devote the whole of the extra day to debating legislation and help them with their program. Labor Party said no, Liberal Party said no, National said no, Greens said no. They'd rather have the theatre and playing the games. Only Senator Pauline Hanson, Senator Ralph Babet and Senator Malcolm Roberts voted for extending the hours to debate so we get proper debate. I also called, we've had a very busy week, it's been spectacular many, many ways, but I called for an inquiry into COVID mismanagement, making the COVID issue worse, and they did that to drive the injection update to coerce people. This is how they failed. This is just in one speech. They neglected early treatment. They neglected the fact that natural immunity, according to the people overseas now, scientists, health authorities, including in the European Union, natural immunity is equal to vaccine immunity. In other words, there's no need for the vaccine because natural immunity is very strong and powerful. And it lasts. The vaccine immunity doesn't last. And it actually destroys immunity, the vaccines, because of the spike proteins floating around. They turn their body into a spike protein factory. The second thing is that the health authorities in this country spoke negatively about vitamin D levels and saying it wasn't helpful. What we've seen in the new study that's come out is that people with normal doses of vitamin D actually are 48% less likely to get COVID and less likely to get any severe impacts. So that's almost cutting it in half. And what do the governments do? They lock people down. No sunlight, which is where a lot of vitamin D comes from. We also found, I mentioned that masks don't stop people getting COVID. That's now proven. So many studies now show that. The government also suppressed the news of betadine, which is a proven treatment or preventative. Povidone iodine in betadine works. And of course, as everyone knows, they suppressed ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. I'm rushing a bit, but I'm trying to get through my list. Now, yesterday was the real highlight. We had a dynamo in front of Parliament House here. Everyone abandoned her because she's in favour of women speaking. Her tour is called Let Women Speak. She's about protecting women and children from men who put on lipstick and dresses and call themselves women. And so these men have got penises, they're women with penises, and these women are objecting to their daughters being anywhere near them, using the same facilities, competing in sports teams, being with them in sports teams. And so what we've got is a really serious safety issue. And so I was very, very pleased to be able to support Kelly J. Keane yesterday in front of Parliament House. Then I invited her back to our Senate office, and I invited Pauline to join us. We had a fabulous conversation. She was once a mad lefty, and then when they started interfering with the safety of her daughter, that was it. That's what I love about mothers. Get in the way of the mother, get in the child's harm, and you're in trouble. And I want to thank the many women around Australia who have stood up to the thuggery and the Nazis and the fake protesters and the transgender protesters. I've got nothing against transgender people, but I don't want them to suppress debate. And always when there's control, there is fear beneath that. So we've got to be very careful to maintain free speech in this country, because they have tried to silence mothers who just simply want to protect their children and protect themselves. And so we've got transgender activists who are really trying to control things and suppress free speech. I'll leave the last thing quickly. Elon Musk. I want to thank Elon Musk for retweeting my tweet against the United Nations World Health Organization. He said wonderfully, he retweeted my tweet, which had a video attached to it about my speech in Parliament that went really strongly here and overseas. And he said, do not cede sovereignty through the United Nations World Health Organization. And Tedros, whatever his name is, who's the terrorist, who's the head of the United Nations World Health Organization, denied ever wanting to do that. And that is a complete lie. You can see for it yourself in what they attempted to get through the World Health Organization in the form of international health regulations. They wanted control over nations. They wanted control over Australia, for example, our health officials, and take charge of not only mentioning something, declaring a pandemic on no real basis, but then running what they want to do with restrictions in our country. So thank you very much, Elon, for retweeting my speech, the video of my speech, and for emphasizing we do not cede sovereignty to a body, to anybody outside our country. So protect sovereignty. And with that, I've got to go. I'll catch this plane. So I hope that's a quick update. It was only a fraction of what we did in Parliament this week. We'll be back next week. All the best.